Welcome to Lesson 3 of the Maths course. In this lesson, we'll be looking at multiplication and division. Multiplication and division by tens. To multiply a number by 10, we simply add a 0. So if I have 5, to times by 10, I add a 0, and the answer is 50. If I have 319, to times by 10, I add a 0, giving myself 3,190. To multiply by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 or more, I count the number of zeros and I add that number of zeros to the end of the number. So 27 times 10. In 10, there is 1 0, so I will simply add 1 0 to 27, giving an answer of 270. If I do 27 times 10,000, there's now 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So I will add 4 zeros to 27, giving the answer 270,000. To divide by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 or more, I take away the zeros. So I count the number of zeros and take away that number of zeros from the end of the number. So 270 divided by 10, I take away 1 0, giving 27. To divide 270,000 by 1,000, I count the number of zeros, 1, 2, 3, and so I'm going to take that number of zeros away from 270,000, and that will leave 270. To multiply or divide, if we don't have those zeros, then what we need to do is move the decimal point. Or you can think of it as moving the numbers around the decimal point. It's actually exactly the same thing. So what we do is we count the number of zeros in our multiplier and move the decimal place that number of places. If multiplying by a number bigger than 1, the answer will get bigger. If dividing by a number bigger than 1, the answer will get smaller. Let's have a look at some examples. 2.73 times 10. Well, there's 1 0 in 10, so I'm going to displace one place to the right. 10 is bigger than 1, so my answer will get bigger. And so my answer is 27.3. What about multiplying 2.73 by 10,000? Well, I will move the decimal place 4 places because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 2, 3, 4 zeros. And my decimal point will come at the end here. Now, I don't actually have digits here and here in my question. So at any time when I'm moving at places and I don't have a number there, I can add zeros. So my decimal point goes at the end there, leaving me with the answer 27,300. When my smallest place value is the units, I actually don't need to write that decimal point in. Dividing by multiples of 10. So here I've got 2.73 and I'm going to divide by 10. So when I divide by 10, the number will get smaller. So I'm going to move it one place to the left. And that will give me 0.273. Now, in front of the decimal point, if the tenth is the biggest place value, I always write a 0. So that will give me 0.273. What about if I divide by 1,000? Well, I'll need to move the decimal point 3 places to the left. I don't have enough places here, so I can add zeros as many as I need. 1, 2, 3. And so my decimal point goes there, giving the answer 0.0027. Long multiplication. The terms that can be used for multiplying in an exam are multiply, product, and times. Let's look at an example. 132 times 23. When multiplying, I start at the smallest place value, and in the multiplier, I'll start with a 3 and then multiply in turn to each place value. So I start with 3 times 2, which is 6. Then 3 times 3 going across there, which is 9. And then 3 times 1 is 3. Now I move to the 2. Now the 2 is in the tens place, so I need to put a 0 first, as I'm actually multiplying by 20. So now 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 1 is 2. I now need to add up these two values. So starting from the units, 6 plus 0 is 6, 9 plus 4 is 13, put down the 3, carry the 1, 6 plus 3 is 9, plus the 1 I carry is 10, put down the 0, carry the 1, then 2 plus 1 is 3. And there's my answer, 3036. Let's look at another example. 587 times 4. 7 times 4 here is 28. So I put down just the units place and I carry the tens place whenever I have more than a units place when I multiply things together. Then 4 times 8 is 32 plus the 2 I carried, and that will give me 34. So I put down the 4 and I carry the 3. Then 4 times 5 is 20 plus the 3 I carried will give me 23. So I write the 23 in. 3.3 short division. The words used for division are divide and quotient. So if I ask for the quotient between two numbers, I simply divide them. Now division is the opposite of multiplication. So if I have the question 386 times 83 equals 32,038, then I can multiply these two to get that. So I can divide this number by either of these to get the other one. So this divided by 83 will give me 386, or this divided by 386 will give me 83. Division can be shown in three ways. It can be shown with this divide by sign, it can be shown as a fraction, and it can be shown in this format here, which is sometimes referred to as the bus stop method. Let's have a look at short division. Now, unlike addition and subtraction and multiplication, in division we start with the biggest place value. So I'll start by dividing the 2 here. Now 5 doesn't go into 2. So at the beginning, if it doesn't go into the first number, I can actually do it over the first two numbers. So 5 goes into 28 5 times, because 5 5s are 25. And that will leave a remainder of 3. And I put that little remainder as a little 3 in front of the next number. So you can see that number here, because 5 5s are 25, that leaves 3 to 28. 5 goes into 35 7 times, and that has no remainder. So I can just go into the next number. 5 goes into 6 once, and there's 1 left over. And then 5 goes into 10 twice. Sometimes it doesn't divide exactly. So if we're using remainders, this is how it works. 5 goes into 9 once with 4 remainder. 5 goes into 47 9 times, because 5 9s are 45. So that will leave us 2. And then 5 goes into 26 5 times, because 5 5s are 25, so that will leave 1. And so I can just write remainder 1, and I can just write an R for remainder like this. However, most of the time, when it doesn't divide exactly, we'll be using decimals. And in this one, I'm going to calculate to 1 decimal place. So 3 goes into 8 twice, and that will have a remainder of 2, because 2 3s are 6. So I'll put my little remainder in here in front of the next number. 3 goes into 28 9 times, because 9 3s are 27, and that will have a remainder of 1. 3 will go into 17 5 times. Now I'm at my units. After my units is a decimal point, so I can now put a decimal point in top and bottom. After the decimal point, I can put as many zeros as I want to without changing the number. Now 3 times 5 is 15. And I've got 17 here. So that's another 2 numbers after 15. So it's got a remainder of 2. So I'll put my remainder in. 3 goes into 20 6 times. The 6 3s are 18, leaving a remainder of 2. So I can add another 0 and a 2. I want to calculate it to 1 decimal place. So I actually need to calculate it to 2 decimal places and then round. And I'll show you why in a second. So 3 goes into 26 times, and there'll be a remainder of 2. Now, some of you who know about recurring decimals will see this as a recurring decimal. I'm not going to answer as a recurring decimal, however, because I'm asked to give it to 1 decimal place, and I know how to round, and I always answer the question. So when looking at rounding the number, I want to round to one decimal place. So look at the place where I use the right and ask the question, is it 5 and above or below 5? Well, obviously it's above 5, so I'm going to round up, and that will give me 295.7. Long division. In long division, it's the same concept as short division, but I'm writing out each step more fully. And this is often used for larger devices, such as shown here with the 25. Now, 25 obviously doesn't go into 9, so I can go straight through to using 2 digits of the 97. Now, 25 goes into 97 3 times, so I'll put the 3 up the top, and I actually do the multiplication now. 25 times 3 is 75, and I write my answer underneath. I then subtract this number from this number, which is how we always got the remainder before, but I'm now doing it longhand. So 7 take 5 is 2, and 9 take 7 is 2, giving me 22. I then bring down the next number. So instead of putting my remainder up here, I'm bringing down the number, and that will give me 226. 25 goes into 226 5 times. I can tell that because 10 times 25 will be 250, and that is 24 less than that. So that's 9, giving an answer of 225. I then once again subtract my answer from what I was dividing, and that will give me 1. I then bring down the next number, which in this case is a 5. 25 does not go into 15. It goes in 0 times. So I have to put a 0 here. Missing a 0 is the most common mistake in division. So please make sure you always remember to add a 0 if there aren't any formed. Now that's the units place. So after the units, I can put a full stop, both top and bottom. And after that, I can put in as many zeros as I want to. So I'm going to bring that 0 down. How many times does 25 go into 150? Well, it goes in 6 times. And 6 times 25 is 150. Taking it away, I get 0 remainder, so that is my answer, 390.6. Long division, it can be easier to write out some of the multiples. So I'm going to do that here for 32. So 32, 64, I've written out the first 5. You don't want to write out too many because that takes time, and often in a test or exam, time is not something you've got a lot of. So once I've written that out, it becomes very easy. 32 goes into 76. Well, that's my largest number, 1, 2. So that's going to be 2 times. I then write my answer underneath. Well, that was 2. So 1, 2 is 64. So I write 64 underneath. I then take it away. 6 take 4 is 2. And 7 take 6 is 1. I then bring down the 9. 32 goes into 129. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my biggest number that is smaller than 129. So I write down the 4. 4 times 32 is 128. I just take it away, and that gives me 1. I then bring down the next number, which is a 6. 32 into 16, it doesn't go at all. So again, I need to put a 0. There's my units. So I can put a decimal place, both top and bottom, and then I can put any number of zeros I want to without changing the number. I bring the 0 down. 32 goes into 160 5 times. 5 times 32 is 160. I take it away and I get 0, so there's no remainder. That is my answer. Word problems. In multiplication, I have a number of groups and I want to know how many individuals I have. Well, in division, I have a number of individuals and I want to know how many groups I could make. So for example, David has 9 packs of seeds, each containing 120 seeds. How many seeds does he have? Well, 9 packs is like 9 groups, and each group has 120 seeds. So I've got 9 times 120. 1 pack of seeds will have 120, 2 will have 2 lots of 120, 9 will have 9 lots of 120. In division, David needs 1,080 seeds. Seeds comes in packs of 120. How many packs does he need? So now I've got lots of individual seeds and I want to know how many groups or packs I can make. So I'm going to divide. And so I'll have 1,080 divided by 120 and that will equal 9. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.